right, Molo Sambonani, hello, how's it? Good morning to this, the Wednesday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. Sambonani, my name is Usihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Welcome to it. If you've just woken up, wipe that sleep out your eye and join me for what will be a relatively short, I'm hoping to be done in 15 minutes, morning analysis show. Before I get into any of that, a reminder that if you want to get in touch with us here at the Big Daddy Liberty show, across our various platforms, it's super easy. All you have to do, of course, is find us on our website. As I fix my collar here, pop my collar, as the young ones say. All you have to do is find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, pledge some support, a monthly contribution to the show. 100 Rand a month is what we're looking for in order to grow this platform. We're trying to become an alternative media space to compete with some of the bigger, larger corporate media shills. So with that being said, find us, of course, as I said, on our website at www, as I said, the www pod, snap, but find us at bigdaddyliberty.com. There it is on screen. A reminder, of course, that we're on your social media, so make sure, whether you're watching this simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter this morning, good morning, hit that like button, please. Do me a solid favor, help grow the engagement and the algorithm. And of course, if you're watching in particular on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Help me reach 40,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Welcome to it if you are a new subscriber. Hey, if you like how we begin your news day here at Vuka Nazo, you'll love our friends over at the Daily Friend. Find them from Mondays to Thursday live from 1:30 p.m. at dailyfriend.co.za. Now, with that jibber jabber out of the way, how about we get straight into the news? Indeed, it is an eventful news day. And you'll remember yesterday on Vuka Nazo, we covered the issue of a police minister in this country, a one asshat of a police minister who, instead of fighting the surging crime wave in this country, indeed, instead of keeping South Africans safe and being at the helm politically of what should be a 21st century efficient, modern, crime-busting, invisible policing unit. Oh no, he's definitely not doing any of that. He's more interested in getting media attention. You remember we had a good laugh yesterday at him being at Idols and, you know, sort of cavorting with Idol season 18 winners. Gosh, that's the kind of asshat of a police minister we have in this country. But I framed that particular issue in the context of a very serious issue that the South African Police Service is facing by way of a whistleblower, a one Patricia Mashale, who has come out and literally laid out a litany of allegations of wrongdoing that is happening within the South African Police Service, including the top 3 effective allegations being made by Mashale include effective identity theft, in a sense, where she's alleging that there are certain senior police management officials, primarily those stemming from the Free State Crime Intelligence Unit, who have entered that position having assumed false names and false personas, in a sense, which, if is true, would be a serious indictment on our national security, as crime intelligence is a very important unit within the South African Police Service. Those are the people who are meant to track, keep a tab on crime and criminals. We've had a conversation before about the broken and corrupt nature of crime intelligence. Remember when I mentioned how crime intelligence officials who are trying to keep tabs on some of the most violent and organized criminals were failing to get authorization to keep phone tabs on them because the system is simply broken. Remember, I've always said this on the show, and I want to repeat it in a moment here. I have no problem with our ordinary men and women in blue in this country. Those, the majority of them are hardworking guys who are looking to fight and beat crime. The problem in this country are the management of our police and effectively the political leadership of our police. One has to separate issues when you talk about SAPS. And if you listen to the allegations made by Patricia Mashale, she almost confirms that very view that we hold on the show, that it is the management and the political leadership which is fundamentally problematic in SAPS. Let me go into the other allegations she makes or she alleges rather, from the identity theft of senior management who have then corrupted the entire force. The other allegation she makes is that, of course, these individuals, some of them are actually illegal immigrants who have stolen, if you will, South African identities in order to become, to be employed by the SAPS. Now, you'll remember SAPS by itself, one of its one of its requirements for hiring police officers is that a police officer has to be a South African citizen, born a South African citizen. So this would be a massive, massive crime story, if you will, the story of the century, if it is true. Now, the issue you keep hearing me say, if it is true, what is Bheki Cele and indeed the police establishment and the president, who this woman mentions as having brought these allegations to, what have they said in response? Now, up until yesterday, there was almost a universal media silence on the story. It's only after and I'm not saying we're the reason, I'm just saying, it's only after we covered the story yesterday where I began to see a lot of media coverage, indeed yesterday, on this story. Now, to that effect, the corporate media did pin down Bheki Cele looking for a response, and this is what that asshat of a minister had to say to these allegations. Just give me a second, guys, as I load it up. And as I'm doing that, hit that like button, please, and get my like engagement up. There he is. There he is. There's the asshat right there. Oh, gosh. That predictably stupid-looking face. He looks like he's chewing on something. Here we go. This is what the police minister Bheki Cele had to say.
I found so many people. I found because I received information of the things that were raising to arrange the meeting. That meeting fell apart, did not happen. I've never met her. We have spoken with her. That's what she says herself. She doesn't say she knows me. She says I phoned her, which is true. But it doesn't mean that because I phoned you, I know you. We have spoken.
Gosh.
I said yesterday, I repeat, my doors are open to speak with her. It will be better for all of us, including ourselves, not to shout on TV, not to shout on radio stations.
Don't make it public.
To sit down and listen to the matters, and then we see how we address. She must be safe. The matter has been raised even in the portfolio committee. It must be worked that all members of the South African police, all members of the community must be safe, must be protected according to the way that they're supposed to be. And the question of the foreign national, that matter of that general that has been raised has been thoroughly investigated, and it has been found not by one body, not by the police themselves, including the IPIT and other bodies. They found that that is a South African woman they're talking about that was born in South Africa. If they have alternative and different kind of evidence to what we have found as investigation has been done, we'll be very glad to receive that evidence.
Yes, we've reached a point here. Firstly, let me just cover two things very quickly as I wrap up. That's just one allegation. The allegation of the assumed false identities of some senior management within SAPS is one allegation, as I've mentioned, that this woman raises. The other that she raises is the more substantive, if you will, and more serious one, which is the rampant nepotism and corrupting of police structures in the South African police force. Here's Mashale, the whistleblower, basically saying it is a free-for-all for who management, for instance, hires in the SAPS, insofar as they hire friends, family, and connected cadres and crooked cadres, if you will. That speaks to the overall nature of the police force, which is a fundamentally broken institution, broken by, as I've always said, a corrupt management structure and an inept political leader who you just saw on your screen. Those allegations you can clearly see here voids in his response here, because perhaps the identity theft one is the easiest for him to publicly speak about and publicly extol or dispel. Either way, I made myself clear yesterday. It's either this woman is batty and her claims are absolute nonsense, or there is a large element of truth and there is a cover-up within SAPS. Either way, it is not for Cele to lament this woman coming out publicly and making these allegations public. It's for him to take us into confidence and say, these are the investigations that I've launched. These are the independent investigations in particular that I've asked for, especially because Cele is implicated in some of the allegations this woman makes. And only that, for me, is what will bring confidence on this issue. So we're going to keep an eye on it, and indeed, we'll keep a very close eye and see what is being done by not only Cele, but also the President of the Republic. All right, folks, I'm a little bit behind time here, so I'm going to breeze through my other stories. Let me just get straight into them and load them onto my little software here. Give me 2 seconds, folks, as I do that. A story perhaps which really is, if I'm to keep with the emphasis, pardon me, of law and order in this country, what is clearly perhaps for me an attack on law enforcement, or in this particular instance, the judiciary in this country, is this story out in Mount Aleph, of course, the Eastern Cape, a story which really shocked me. The effective attack on the judiciary in this country, where a Eastern Cape magistrate, as you can see in the heading there, dies in a hail of bullets in front of her husband and child who were wounded in that particular incident. A Mount Aleph magistrate in the Eastern Cape was killed while driving with her husband and children in Imbizana on Saturday evening over the weekend. A 38-year-old woman's husband is recovering in hospital after he sustained serious bullet wounds in the upper body, and their 13-year-old also suffered gunshot wounds. Now, I'll just, the police had declined to name the magistrate, saying the family was yet to be notified. In fact, no, that's not entirely true. The magistrate had been named. I just need to find the article. There it is. This is the better article right here. Just bear with me, folks. As Magistrate Wuli Swatseki Pato, who again, we from this show to them, to their family, we extend our condolences to. But up till now, the motive of this attack had not actually been brought to the fore, which is very concerning for me. If you consider, for instance, that this could be a case, and again, this is pure speculation from my part, but this could be a case, much like you see in South America, where the drug cartels, for instance, have no problem in targeting members of the judiciary in order to intimidate and get their way. You could be very well seeing a situation of that trend now being carried out in this country, especially because this is not the first time we've seen a judicial officer, a judge, if you will, being, assassinated in this way. There was that case in Cape Town, if you remember, not more than a few months ago, where the similar thing happened. A judge was gunned down in this country. Are we seeing an attack on our judiciary in this country? And if so, is this another, if you will, nail in the coffin to the notion of South Africa being governed by the rule of law? I've said this once and I'll say it again. Whenever you have a corrupted law enforcement agency in this country, whenever you have a corrupted judiciary in this agency, criminals see nothing wrong with targeting those institutions simply because those institutions do not have the bite, or no longer rather have the bite, and they're not scared of those institutions. That, for me, perhaps is the explanation of what we're seeing here, insofar as a magistrate being gunned down in such a dramatic fashion. We'll keep an eye on this story, especially as the investigation develops. But the organized crime picture in this country is truly, and I really mean this, truly a scary, scary one. You, dear South African, are on your own. All right, folks, I'm going to head over to our last story. That last one in particular really scares me because it's a reminder of how you really should become your own first self-defender, pardon me. But I'm going to go to my last story for the morning, which again is another feedback. We've covered this particular story on the show, and that is the you'll remember over 200 ghost employees. Ghost employees who are employed at Prasa, that's the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, the government agency, if you will, that manages or mismanages, depending on how you want to see it, our trains in this country, commuter trains in this country. The latest on this particular story is how these ghost employees simply disappeared. They vanish, as this article says, and it then tries to salvage a good angle out of it and says, well, Prasa has saved 200 million rand because these ghost employees have simply vanished. There's the loser at the helm of that particular department of transport, Figile Mbalula. We just recently spoke about him, that absolute chop of a character as it relates to his inability to protect Intercape, or not inability, his unwillingness to protect Intercape passengers. You remember that story in the previous Vuka Nazo. Let me just quickly read a passage here where the transport minister, the loud and idiot Minister Figile Mbalula, provided an update this week since the launch of what he called Operation Ziveze, Zulu or Xhosa for Show Yourself, Ziveze, in November 2021, aimed at validating employees and uncovering ghost workers. Project Ziveze was launched to verify workers after material irregularities were uncovered within Prasa's ICT and payroll system. I'm not going to read the gobbledygook here. I want to get to the meaty bits where Mbalula said during phase one, all employees were invited on a voluntary basis, anyway, to come forward with verified copies of their identity documents, qualifications, and the human capital management employee data forms. Quote, it was further emphasized that those who failed to present themselves for verification would have their salaries frozen, said the loud minister, who goes on to say during this phase, out of the 17,268 recorded employees on Prasa's payroll system, 14,268 presented themselves for verification. During the same period, Mbalula said 1,199 people resigned, no surprises there. Failure by 3,000 employees to come forward for physical verification led to suspicions that there could be a number of ghost employees, says Figile Mbalula. End of quote. Duh. Of course, there's over 3,000 ghost employees in that organization. This is the nature of state-owned enterprises. They're often poorly governed, poorly managed, inefficient, and indeed a hotbed for corruption by politicians and the political elite. Of course, you'll find that there are people who are just drawing salaries from these government-owned agencies and state-owned enterprises simply because, well, the structure of the organization allows for that sort of rampant corruption. Indeed, maybe even is designed for that sort of rampant corruption. Just because this minister and his political elite are not the ones benefiting doesn't mean perhaps that maybe previous administrations or previous political elites weren't at the helm of this sort of corruption. Prasa, like any other SOE in this country, is fundamentally broken, fundamentally corrupt. I've said this once and I'll say it again. The only way out for South Africans, the only solution for South Africa is to privatize these organizations. Watch what happens when you suddenly sell off as a government these state-owned agencies and businesses to the private sector who have a financial incentive to make sure that the organization is efficient. Watch how much rot and corruption and inefficiency would suddenly be eliminated when these idiots and these political elites realize that the gravy train, excuse the pun, is well and over. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up over there. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies for the show not being as slick as usual. Hey, are you liking the show? Well, then do me a favor. Please hit that like button. Do me a solid favor. It really does help, especially if you're watching this live show. With that being said, a reminder to you that we come to you as Vuka Nazo 5 days a week from 7 a.m. So make sure, of course, that you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And definitely, if you're watching on any other medium, hit that like button, as I said. Remember, you can find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. With that being said, thank you for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow, bright and early at 7 a.m. for Vuka Nazo.